So as we see the minis going round for their second warm-up lap after some tricky track conditions, which led to a pretty large oil slick all the way around the circuit. Somebody dropped oil for 2 whole laps. Some fabulous work by the marshals. You can see the guys in the orange here watching the minis go round as they feel their way round for grip for the second of their sighting laps. The Celtic Speed Mini Cooper Cup guys and girls about to get their first race of the day under tricky conditions. As you can see, we've still got a very wet track and there's a bit of a wind blowing as well. Cloud cover quite substantial at Knockhill Racing Circuit, and out the back of the circuit we can see it's not full on rain, it's kind of mizzle, that mizzly, misty, horrible, drizzly rain which gets you wet properly through. And these guys have got to try and contend with this for their first race of the day. Qualifying, well, qualifying in the minis is always so important, and it usually works well for some people, and unfortunately it goes wrong for other people. But as the cars all follow their way round just now, Robbie Dalgleish was the man who we saw come away with pole position. He really has been the form man of this year. He's put together some fabulous races, some quality overtaking. Even in the reverse grid races, we've seen Robbie come through from the back to give himself a great chance with this championship. Oh, having said that though, the championship, there is one championship which can be sewn up today, and that will be the Newcomers Championship. Michael Weddle sits in pretty good form with that one, so he could wrap that up today if everything goes well for the young man. So in mini racing, anything can happen, so let's see how we get on here. You'll notice that we're at Knockhill and we're reverse direction today. We're in the anti-clockwise configuration. And as we see the last couple of cars make their way up towards a tricky start condition, that's Fiona Kindness at the very back there. It's Dalgleish and Slay on the front row of the grid. Michael Weddle, we can just see him poking on the side of David Slay's green car. Michael Weddle in number 7. And then it's John Duncan, a man who is very much in the championship hunt here. John Duncan, we're just hoping to keep his nose clean, as will David Slay in this one. But the guys can't really slacken off, because that man in number 91 is well and truly still in the championship hope as well. So we wait for the green flag at the back of the grid, and then we will get the starter boards through, and we'll be starting here at Knockhill. This is where, when you're in the car, if you're sitting with your foot on the clutch, you start to get that little quiver in the top of your thigh as the first board goes out. The guys are a little engaged gear now. It's all about trying to find that perfect rev where the car won't wheel spin too much. I'll give you a good launch down towards the hairpin, and the hairpin oh so important to get through here clean on this first lap. So wipers are full on as well. It doesn't look like it's raining that heavy, but everybody trying to make sure they've got the best vision possible. And here we go, the lights start to come on. We've got 2, 3, 4, we've got a full complement of lights now. Let's see who gets the jump down towards the start. The hairpin, David Slay with a pretty good start there. Looks like he got the wheels spinning, but there was enough grip as well to bite and go forward, and he has. Slay leads as they come down towards the hairpin. For the first time of asking, he's pulled across in front of Robbie Dalgleish. Can he keep that? Will everybody behave in the mid-pack? Yes, a few going, shall we say, sideways, but as we come round towards Clark Corner, it's Slay, Dalgleish, Michael Weddle under huge pressure from John Duncan now. Weddle cuts across the nose. He doesn't cut across, he just rubs the nose of John Duncan there. And behind that, there's a whole group of 4 cars coming in. This is the first place where it could get a little bit dodgy. Oh, that looks like Dom Wheatley's gone. Simon Holderness, big sideways, flicks back into the gravel, and round goes Simon Holderness there. Dom Wheatley will recover from that in car 4. I think Simon Holderness might get out of that, although he looks pretty deep actually there as they make their way through the chicane. So it all went horribly wrong at Clark Corner as they're climbing through Butchers in towards McIntyre's before the long climb back up the hill. You got to take Leslie's. You got to be so smooth on the throttle and the steering through Leslie's and try and hold it as quick as you can, close to being flat over the crest of Duffus Dip there, and then up the main straight for the first lap to be done here as we see Ian Munro going a little bit wide there. That was Ian Munro, dropped a couple of wheels onto the grass. Now where is he? He's not come back into our view yet. So Ian Munro makes a little mistake at the top of Duffus Dip there as we see the rest going through the hairpin. Michael Weddle very sideways on the inside of Robbie Dalgleish, and that looked like Ashley Morris had just been given a fairly large punch up the rear. And we'll have to try and see if she managed to hold on to that position, because we've got waved yellow flags going to Clark, so there'll be no overtaking. Now, is that a safety car board out as well? No, it's not yet. But we have got Simon Holderness, we would imagine, still well and truly buried in that gravel trap just now. As we make our way down the back straight, I think I actually saw the safety car boards there. at the embankment, the corner prior to Clark's. As Dom Wheatley comes through now, yeah, there we see the yellow flags at the chicane with the safety car board being held out by the marshals. So tricky conditions, catching out Simon Holderness and Dom Wheatley at Clark's. And where is Ashley Morris after that attack she suffered at the hairpin? Possibly just gone through a shot just now. There's Fee Kindness going through. So the weather condition catches out a couple of people nice and early, so that's never the greatest thing to do. As we come up, David Slate is the pace setter. He'll look to see the BMW, the John Clark BMW, just over the crest of the hill. It picks up the safety, picks up the drivers as they come through Clark. And the aptly named John Clark BMW now leads the way as Simon Holderness comes out of the gravel trap. A great shame there. Maybe caught out by Dom Wheatley going in so quickly. Went in quick himself, but then the car snapped into a big oversteer, dialed on a huge amount of steering lock, then it flicked back the other way. Lucky not to roll when it went into the gravel trap, but never mind that, we are now racing again as we go over the crest of the hill and down towards the hairpin, or the restart. And let's try and catch up with the leaders if we can, going in towards there as everybody streams past the camera. There's Ian Munro there. So whatever happened at the top of Diffus for Ian Munro, it went horribly wrong for him, and he's absolutely almost stonewall last now. As we head round towards Clark's, Robbie Dalgleish under big pressure from Michael Weddell. Let's hope everybody gets through here. This time we hold our breath. Ross Wilkinson down there as well as we come through the crest of Clark's. Yes, the drop down tends to make the car want to do that big sideways action, and a great save there, but that could have so easily gone wrong as everybody tiptoes their way through. We see David Slay, Robbie Dalgleish and Michael Weddell all flirting with the curbs, as does John Duncan, Hannah Chapman in that as well, and Chapper's going very well so far as she comes up towards McIntyre's. David Slay starting to put just a little bit of daylight between him and the pursuing pack now. So David Slay looks like he's already starting to stretch his legs in that David Slay racing car. Ross Wilkinson flashes through. He's a newcomer, we need to remember that, and going very well in the newcomers, as is Michael Weddell. But look at this at the head. Slay now has to start thinking about defending as Chapman goes up the inside of John Duncan. They used to be teammates, they're not anymore. Through goes Hannah Chapman, and will she have that position by the time they get to Clark's? You would think so. She's now on the inside line, which will give her the plum seat by the time they get to Clark's as Dalgleish mounts an attack on Slade. We see Chapman and Duncan still side by side. Chapper's on the inside. John Duncan tries to force it. He's going to have to watch not lose 1 or 2 positions here as they go down the back straight. Ross Wilkinson's trying to go up the inside, and he does. So John Duncan goes down, not 1, but he goes down 2 places in towards Clark Corner. Could have possibly let that one go a little bit sooner. But it's all very easy saying that in the commentary box. You never want to do that as a racing driver. Slay leads in towards McIntyre from Robbie Dalgleish. The hard-charging newcomer of Michael Weddell goes through the shot as well, as those three have pulled away a bit now because Hannah Chapman has upset the apple cart there by getting past John Duncan, and there's a bit of a gap happened there. Now, can Hannah come back? Can she overcome that gap and see if she can get back up towards the back of the leading 3 just now? That Clone Motorsport car in towards the hairpin, chasing down the Minimax car of Michael Weddell. And look at this, it's all happening at the hairpin. John Duncan is definitely not finished in this one at all, is he? Ian Walsh having a brilliant run as well. We should say that, Ian Walsh in the white Mini there. Great to see Ian Walsh back in the championship. And that car, he has been doing a few things with it this year. But look at this as they come through Clark Corner. Slay under huge pressure now from Robbie Dalgleish as we go down the back straight. Once again, slipping and sliding our way through Clark's and into the chicane. You don't want to make a little error going in here. You lock a wheel up at the chicane, you go straight on. It feels like it takes an eternity to get back on the actual race surface as John Duncan saves a snap oversteer moment there. In fact, that was 2. He then forced himself a little bit wide going towards Butchers, and he's dropped off the back of Wilkinson now. So John Duncan having a little bit of a... His hands are a little bit full in that minute. It just doesn't seem like the handling is absolutely perfect for John. Sideways in towards the chicane, very well held, we should say that. As through come the pursuing pack as they make their way up the main straight. Dougie Simpson's involved in that car number 81. As David Slay still leads coming in towards the hairpin. Fastest lap of the race just now. Well, they're all really about the same. The top 8 are all doing 67 seconds. So nobody in the 66 bracket yet. 67 seconds. But look at this as they go towards Clark. Great camera point here on top of the inside of the circuit. And Dalgleish had that thing making all sorts of shapes and sizes. Now, did David Slay, was there contact there? Or was that just David Slay getting a bit too keen like Ross Wilkinson does? But Wilkinson doesn't spin and do a holderness. He manages to keep his foot well and truly buried in that one. And it pulls the car straight again. He was very, very lucky there. And that's Dom Wheatley going through shot ahead of Fee Kindness. Remember, we lost Dom very early on at Clark's on lap 1. So this is a great comeback drive just now for Wheatley in car number 4. And currently, he's one of the fastest drivers on the circuit. As there's a change of position further back down there. What happened there as we went in towards McIntyre's, it was a very long camera shot as the 3 leaders go through underneath the Beatson's Building Supply Bridge. There was a definite change in the second group of drivers. Where has Hannah Chapman gone? Chapman's gone, Hannah has gone. We've got John Duncan and Wilkinson. We've lost Chappers. Now it looked like that could have possibly been a mechanical. Chappers didn't go off the road. But what a disaster for Hannah. After that brilliant overtaking manoeuvre to get herself up into 4th place. Looks like something's gone wrong on that car. Never mind, there's another 2 races. Let's hope she can get that fixed. The top 3 have all concertinaed back up now. Look at that, David Slay controlling the pace at the front from Dalgleish, and Michael Weddle's upped his pace to try and get back up there and make it a 3-way scrap for the win. John Duncan and Wilkinson go through all the roads. Dougie Simpson runs wide at Clark's and all the way down the back, straight on the grass. There's nothing worse. It seems to take a day and an age to get back on, but he eventually will. And there comes Ian Monroe as well, also back through the pack, as Ashley Morris is quite far off as well. I wonder if that's something to do with what happened at the hairpin earlier on. Meanwhile, your leader comes through a very murky camera lens at the top of Duffy's Dip onto the main straight. David Slay has driven an absolutely perfect race so far. He's had a few slides, but he has controlled it very, very well under great pressure from Robbie Dalgleish. The question is, what has Michael Weddle got in store? Can Michael Weddle get himself up and hassle Robbie Dalgleish? Has he got a pass in him? Has he got a manoeuvre in him as John Duncan still holds off Ross Wilkinson going through the hairpin and heading towards Clark's we go. Oh, Fiona Kindness, good grief, she comes flying across the apex of the corner there, and thankfully there was no other cars there. She buries that car in the gravel trap and Dalgleish is off at Clark. So it's all gone wrong on the last lap here. This has gone horribly wrong for Robbie Dalgleish. He's going to lose a position out of that, definitely. Weddle's already gone, Weddle's already through. So what happened there? And look, a lot of people struggling for grip as they come through Clark Corner. Lots of sideways action, but what a shame for Robbie Dalgleish. He obviously had a shot there again in David Slay, but then he's ran into the gravel on the exit off the corner as we see David Slay coming up underneath that Beatson's Building Supply Bridge. Where is he? We should see him pop into our view any second. There he is, David Slay. From lights to flag, it's been absolutely perfect for the man in the number 5 car. He takes the victory from Michael Weddle. Dalgleish comes home in 3rd place, ahead of John Duncan, Ross Wilkinson, and how's about this 6th place for Ian Walsh? What a fabulous, fabulous drive for Ian Walsh as everybody goes across the gravel, which Fiona Kindness brought onto the track there with that off she had there. Let's hope there's nothing too wrong with that car. Ian Walsh, 6th place, ahead of Dom Wheatley, Dougie Simpson, Gordon Long, also a fabulous result for Gordon Long. And Gary Clark comes home in 10th place. Fastest lap of the race, Dom Wheatley. So the comeback drive was well and truly on for Dom Wheatley. And he done a 66.4 second lap. Reading that a little bit wrong from this screen there, but fabulous racing there. David Slay wins from Michael Weddle and Robbie Dalgleish. Great shame for Robbie Dalgleish. Last lap, little error at Clark Corner, and it loses him a position. But he still finishes on the podium. He'll be delighted with that one. Let's catch up with the guys for some post-race interviews.
Hi David, so first podium of the day, do you want to talk us through the race please?
Yeah, well, kind of got a good start off the line there, managed to jump from 2nd to 1st place. Robbie must have spun out, we just had the revs quite right there. And got off, actually managed to get a decent lead there, and safety car came out, which I just kind of knew was probably going to happen. It did, dropped us all back together, and you know, to be honest, I probably spent most of my race there defending the hairpin every single lap, managing to get a wee bit of break, then Robbie would bring it back up in the hairpin when I was defending. Last lap there, he kind of he was kind of challenging me a bit into moving to Clarkson the laps before the last one. The very last one there, he went for his move there, tried to go the inside out, broke himself, and effectively left the track. I managed to get back inside him and finish the race in first place. But it was, you know, it was pressurised, slip out there, someone dropped some oil earlier on, and that was quite a challenge.
Nice. Well, good luck for the rest of the day. We'll hopefully see you again soon.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
Let's talk us through the first race. What happened? How are you feeling for the rest of the day?
First race, I qualified in 6th. I just wanted to move forwards, see how far up the grid I could get. I managed to make it up into 4th. I was going really well. The car felt great. And then I unfortunately had a mechanical failure, which was not ideal. So I'll be starting at the back from the next race. It's a race against time to get the car back together again. It was a clutch that went, so fingers crossed we can start the next race and just get as high up the grid again as we can, and then see what we can do with reverse grid race 3 if we make it high enough up to be in for a shout of the reverse grid draw.
Well, good luck for the rest of the day. Hopefully see you on the podium.
Thank you.
As you can see, the cars lining up on the grid, and the grid order is a direct comparison to how race 1 ended, with that man, the man of the moment in car number 5, David Slate, on pole position. Alongside him, the hard-charging Michael Weddle. Robbie Dalglish, who will be out for revenge in race number 2, alongside John Duncan, who must really be thinking about championships. Keep your eyes on the car through the back as well. The white car there with the orange stripes on the bonnet. Dom Wheatley, fastest man on the track in race number 1. Let's see if we can bring that forward with him into race number 2 here. The track a lot drier than it was in race number 1 as well. So the lap times we should see a lot quicker. Fastest lap of the race in lap number 1 was, as we said, it was Dom Wheatley. And he did a 66.4 second lap. So as we all basically ready to go here, we're just waiting on a few cars at the back of the grid lining up, and then the green flag, and we shall be on our way. There we go. We can see the lights on the starting gantry. We're starting to worry a little bit about that there. There goes the 5-second board. That's the little white one that goes out, the very last one. And then all eyes up towards the lights as we get 2, 3, 4, a full complement of lights here. Let's see who gets a jump down towards the hairpin. Slay was supreme in race number 1, and again he gets the car moving, and it looks like he's got the perfect start to lead down towards the hairpin for the first time of asking. Yes, look at that, everybody jostling for position behind David Slay, who's on the wet part of the track. Will he cut across to the dry part? No, he's going to actually hold that out because it's pretty much dry all the way through. The racing line looks nice and decent there. Maybe a little bit damp from the apex onwards, but Slay with a commanding lead. We go on board with Gordon Long here. Let's see what Gordon's doing behind the steering wheel. He's got somebody alongside him. We can see that just out of his rear view mirror. There is a car there. Gordon's staying quite far out. There he goes up the inside. Oh, that's Ian Monroe, and that was a power move by Ian Monroe. And Monroe made that one stick. That was good to see. Sideways, no, is that Ian Walsh? Yes, it is. Ian Walsh into the gravel trap after that sensational drive in race number 1. Walshy finds himself beached in the gravel trap there, and I can't see him getting out of that one. Will we get a safety car for that? Let's hope not, but look how dry the racing line is, and that's going to make it very difficult for everybody to get past. It looks like we're in outer space with that camera there. A little bit of weird sunlight for that one as the cars go up the main straight, and there come the safety car boards and flags. That will be to get Ian Walsh out from the gravel trap. He's sitting in a rather iffy position, shall we say. So 6th in race number 1. A rush of blood to that ageing head now on Ian Walsh. We can see that he will be smiling listening to this, one would hope. Walsh in the gravel trap. Not really damage to the car, no damage. It didn't dig in, thankfully, even with that new deep pan gravel trap at Clark Corner there. But thankfully the car not reaching the barrier. Now that's what we need to talk about. Those 4 marker posts, you do not want to be touching them. If you touch them, race direction will be having a little look at what you've done. And there will also possibly be some penalties flying about. Basically, you can use the blue and white bit, but you can't really use the red bit, and certainly not hitting the marker posts. Chappers, right at the back. The car has been fixed by Clone Motorsport. Adrian Haldane doing a cracking job to get Hannah back out as Walshy reverses out from the gravel trap and makes his way back into the pits in quick speed as the safety cars pulled in, and we're racing again here at Knockhill. Green flags in the air. David Slay once again heads down towards the hairpin, and he is the man of the moment in the Celtic Speed Mini Cooper Cup under huge pressure from Michael Weddle. Michael Weddle tries to go underneath him, not at the apex, but he wants to try and set a manoeuvre up for Clark. Unfortunately, he's just a little bit off there. Gordon Long, again, giving us some good photographs here as we look forward. Look at the rearview mirror as well. There's nobody alongside him. There's nobody creeping up that inside. So Gordon Long starts to peel back over towards the right-hand side, uses a bit of curb, but you've got to watch because the curbs hold on to some water, and they do tend to stay that little bit damper or wetter, whatever the correct word is, but they're pretty slippy. That's what we will say. Hannah Chapman goes down the back straight now, in towards McIntyre's, David Slay, Michael Weddle, Robbie Dalgleish, all just flirting with the apex curb there. And yeah, I did say earlier on, the dry racing line, it will make it difficult for any overtaking as they come through Clark Corner, as they come through Duffus Dip, sorry, and up the main straight. Bit of a flashback, half a lap there from the commentator. Slay leads the way. Dom Wheatley still well and truly in there. There's Ian Monroe, the yellow car, flashing past ahead of Dougie Simpson and Simon Holderness. As we go back on board with Gordon Long. Great onboard pictures as you can see the drier part of the track there, the wet offline, the dry racing line. Gordon goes down 2 gears into the hairpin, he turns in, looks for an apex, a little bit wide on the inside, and that's put him wide. His driving wheels are on the wet part of the track, and that's going to lose you just that little bit of corner exit all the way down towards Clark as the guys at the front flash past it. That's a cracking camera view, that. As the corner starts just after that, the cars will start peeling in toward the left-hander of Clark Corner. Through the chicane. Oh, John Duncan there. Was that a mistake from John Duncan? He's lost the position. Yes, he has. John Duncan goes down behind Dom Wheatley. The fast, hard-charging Dom Wheatley really has gelled with the reverse direction, anti-clockwise configuration here at Knockhill. And Dom Wheatley, if he hadn't gone off in that first race, who knows where he would have got himself up to. And the same has to be said about Ian Monroe. Monroe, where we're on board with Gordon Long now, Monroe just ran wide at the apex and put 2 wheels in the grass there on the right, and that must have dragged him all the way up there in the grass. And really that was effectively his race run there and then, as the big three again at the front, as Dom Wheatley slides past Ross Wilkinson. Now can it be a big 4 in a minute, because Wheatley has made up huge ground here. As we go back on board Gordon Long, masses of understeer through the apex hairpin. There's somebody alongside him there. It's one of the Andy Lamond cars. That could be Neil Methvin. If it is, we'll just see the number in just a second. Methvin with a good run here. Long's on the wrong side for the next corner. Is Methvin brave enough? Yes, he is. Wow, look at that. Very late on the brakes. Gordon Long has a little look over to see him flying past. There's Ross Wilkinson has a big moment going through chicane. That big a moment, he's just wiped out 3 of those bollards. And that is going to get him a bit of a slap on the wrist from race control. A little sideways corner entry moment caused a correction, and that just put him a couple of feet offline. There was by no way, shape or form though any way of him trying to gain an advantage. That was just purely a little bit of bad luck there, and I'm pretty sure the stewards will notice that and realise that he had a moment on the way to the corner. So common sense should prevail there as we go back on board with Gordon Long. Look at this, he's picking up a good slipstream from Neil Methvin. Is he going to be brave? Big deep breath at the hairpin here, Gordon. Methvin's very late on the brakes. Can Methvin get it stopped on the inside? Yes, he can. Does he leave a little gap? Not really. He doesn't, as the guys leave the hairpin and head towards Clark Corner. So great onboard footage there. Good to see Gordon Long in a good battle. And David Slay now starting to pull away at the head of the field here. Leading from the front and pulling away, as we see Ross Wilkinson coming down with Dom Wheatley all over the back of him now. As we go through where the bollards had been, John Duncan's turn to get a bit of a mistake going in towards the chicane there as they go into McIntyre's. It's not really an overtaking place, McIntyre's. You kind of want it to be as a race driver, but there's just not enough time, and more than likely it's going to cause a bit of contact at the apex as Slay crosses the line. Dalgleish now into second place. Robbie Dalgleish has got ahead of Michael Weddle. Was that a little mistake from Weddle going through the McIntyre's Leslie's Duffus area, and that's released to second place Robbie Dalgleish. And look how dry the track has got now as they go in there. As underneath Wilkinson goes Wheatley. Good manoeuvre, Dom Wheatley. He doesn't force the shoulder into Ross Wilkinson, but he's basically letting him know that he's well and truly alongside, and that should be Dom Wheatley's place by the time they get to Clark Corner. As we catch up with 1, 2 and 3, the next car is the one we want to see. As Wheatley held the position. No, he hasn't. Wheatley doesn't hold the position. Wilkinson does. So very brave stuff from Ross Wilkinson there, going down the back straight just now in towards the chicane as everybody else comes through. Ooh, you don't want to put wheels over the edge there. Very, very easy to get dragged down the back straight on the grass. As Wheatley goes up the inside of McIntyre's big manoeuvre, contact at the apex, over the sausage curb, and Wilkinson says no. Cuts across the nose of him, and Ian Monroe, loving this, has brought him right into the battle. Wheatley puts two wheels on the wet parts, and something's happened at Butchers. That's Fiona Kindness. It's a ladies' cup moment there. Kindness, Morris and Chapman all having a bit of an off going through Butchers in towards McIntyre's, and that really has put a cat amongst the pigeons there for those three. It looks like Fiona Kindness, that could possibly be a second DNF if she doesn't get going from there. Wheatley has passed now, and there's more contact. Monroe's got past Wilkinson as well. So it's really all kicking off here as we get towards the business end of the race. Clark Corner. Through comes a very untroubled and unruffled David Slay. He doesn't look like anything is going to upset him today. That number 5 car well and truly in the mix as he goes over the crest of the chicane. Then we've got Wheatley, Monroe and Wilkinson down towards the chicane as they come in. Over the crest of the chicane, trying just to use enough care but not too much. There's a bumper lying there. That looks like it could be from one of the cars which we spun out of contention, but Fiona Kindness has got going, thankfully, from her spin that went through Butchers there as we follow these guys up, and we're on board with Gordon Long here. Takes a lot of care through Leslie's, and they've got to look so far ahead here to try and get an apex. She turns so early up that hill, it's quite frightening as he charges on for another lap, but onto what should be the last lap of the race for David Slay as we go back to an apex camera here, and we see Wheatley going through with Monroe, Wilkinson as they all head towards the Clark Corner. Gary Clark well and truly in there as well. There goes Dougie Simpson through the corner as well, and that will be Gordon Long territory in just a minute as well. But down the back straight, look at David Slay. He's not under any pressure really, is he? Robbie Dalglish has tried everything in this race. He's got himself into second place, but David Slay is just driving absolutely supremely as we go in towards the chicane for this, the last time. And sideways goes Wilkinson. No, round he goes over the grass, and that is a disaster for Ross Wilkinson. He was in a perfect place to pick up good championship points here. Waved yellow flags for everybody coming down there. Now, can he get out of there? Is he stuck? That's the bit as David Slay comes over the crest of the hill. What an absolute disaster for Wilkinson. Slay wins the race from Robbie Dalglish and Michael Weddle, the top three again. And oh dear, Ross Wilkinson will be absolutely kicking himself with that one. A moment going in towards the chicane. Just must have been locking up a back brake on a damp patch there, and round it went. Try as he may to save it, it was not going to happen. Dom Wheatley does get a superb 4th place, and Ian Monroe equally with an amazing 5th place from the recovery drive from those two guys. Gary Clark, John Duncan and Dougie Simpson make 6th, 7th and 8th, with Simon Holderness in 9th, and Gordon Long comes home for a brilliant 10th place.
Yeah, so that was a decent race actually. Started second, and I was trying to think of what would happen there if David made a mistake, and thankfully though he never really made a mistake. So my other thinking was to try and let Robbie go through and do the same thing that he did in the first race, but he never bothered doing that. But no, I'll take for it. It's been a good day so far. So 2 newcomers wins, and it does well for the newcomer championship.
So here we go, the mini final. We have got the top 7 reversed as we wait for the red lights to come on the starting gantry. Here we go, we've got 2, 3, 4, a full complement of red lights. Who can get the jump down? Will it be John Duncan or will it be Gary Clark? Away they go, Gary Clark with the initial launch, but it looks as anything like Dom Wheatley from the second row. The kid got a really cracking start there, but he's tucked in behind Gary Clark, and is John Duncan with Ian Monroe on the white line on the inside. But look at the red charger around the outside. Robbie Dalglish, wow, what a manoeuvre from Robbie right around the outside, and gets himself alongside Ian Monroe as they head towards Clark Corner. Brilliant, brilliant first turn for Robbie Dalgleish there. Really, he's making hay while the sun shines, and he's about to take the lead into Clark Corner as they flash through our camera shot there. He's side by side with John Duncan. John Duncan won't want to force the issue too much. Robbie Dalgleish has absolutely scythed his way through the first couple of corners here, and he leads at the chicane, and second place goes to Ian Munro from John Duncan. Gary Clark in fourth place. We're wondering what has just happened there, and David Slay's probably looking up the road thinking, how's he there and I'm still back here? Because that was an absolute stormer of a start. Everybody goes to the inside, and Robbie Dalgleish right round the outside on the white line on the right hand side of the circuit. Really cracking stuff from that man there in the number 91 car to lead the way at the end of the first lap. That's something you just do not see in minis very often. Dalgleish stomping his authority all over this one as we go down towards the hairpin. Now Ian Munro will feel a little bit hard done by this weekend. He has been quicker than his results have given us, or given him, and he will be wanting to tag onto the back of Robbie Dalgleish and see where he can get to now. John Duncan still in a fine third place with Michael Weddle, and then Gary Clark and David Slay just behind Gary Clark as they come through Clark Corner. As you can see now, the track is absolutely bone dry and in perfect conditions, and if anything, the weather is really good today. It's a nice cool air. It's not too cold, but it's cool air, and the engines do tend to like that cooler air. It gives you horsepower, and somebody skittles the bollards again. I don't know who that was that time. Couldn't quite see exactly who hit them, but Gary Clark making all sorts of shapes and sizes in front of David Slay there, going through McIntyre's as they climb back up through Les's and over the crest of Duffus. It's still car number 91, Robbie Dalgleish, who leads the way from Ian Munro. Then behind Ian Munro it is John Duncan, who started from pole position as they come in towards the hairpin, and through they go. David Slay up the inside. Does he manage to get that stopped? No, it was a keen effort from David, but he's now going to have to fight off Hannah Chapman as they head round towards Clark's. Very late braking from David Slay there now. Chappers and Slay side by side as they go out of our view, picked up by the next camera. They're still side by side. This is going to be interesting. Hannah will not want to give up to David Slay, but she has to. David Slay very forceful there, and look at that, he's carried so much speed through the corner. He's getting a run down the back straight on Gary Clark as they come in towards the chicane. A cracking mini final this has been, and Slay does get past. He gets past Gary Clark and holds off Hannah Chapman. So great stuff from the man in the number 5 car. What has he got left now? Can he catch back up and get himself towards the front of this one as we go over the crest of Duffus Dip one more time? Still absolutely astounded. Robbie Dalgleish started 6th, and by the time he got to the chicane, he led the mini final. That is absolutely unheard of. Never have I seen that done in my life in minis. We probably have seen it in Legends before, but not in a mini race, and he's under huge pressure now from Munro, Duncan and Michael Weddle coming in towards us as well. Hannah Chapman's got past Gary Clark, and Chappers will be happy with that because the DNF in race number 1 really did hurt Hannah. As we wait for the rest of them to come to Clark Corner, that looked like it was that Don Wheatley on the inside there. Don Wheatley side by side with Ross Wilkinson as they go down the back straight. Now we know Ross Wilkinson's quick today as well, but unfortunate off he had at the chicane. There's your marks in the grass from where he went off earlier on the left. Really definitely hurting his progress throughout the course of the day, but Robbie Dalgleish is having to soak up huge pressure by Ian Munro and John Duncan with a bit of a different line to the other guys going up through the top of Duffus there. Doesn't really seem to affect them, but the two at the front maybe have just got a car's length ahead of John Duncan now as we have a look at the laps this time through over the crest of the hill to go. David Slay has just set a new lap record, a new track record, a 62.8 second lap for David Slay in his Mini Cooper, and the charge is well and truly on for David here. He's the fastest person on track, obviously, but that's a new lap record, and he will be very happy with that one. Let's see what the rest of the people are doing. Michael Weddle's also just popped up on the screen, a new newcomer's lap record, so the track is absolutely perfect out there. Like I said before, the air conditions really helping these guys get a good bit of horsepower in those engines. So a new lap record for David Slay, 62.8 seconds, and you can see him homing into the back of Michael Weddle now. David has had 2 victories today. Surely it's going to be a tall order for him to get past Weddle, Duncan, Munro and Dalgleish, especially the way Robbie Dalgleish is managing this race at the front. Just doing exactly what he needs to do. A bit of trim hanging off the side of Hannah Chapman as she goes over the crest of Duffus Dip there. And the rest of the field all filter through. Number 30, Gordon Long, our onboard cameraman, at the back just now with Richard Sutherland just behind him. But look at this, as a change for the lead. No, it was a look for the inside for Ian Munro, as we draw breath in the commentary box, because that was a pretty, well, that was an option there for Munro. He could have let off the brakes and possibly run them both wide, but then he would have been under big pressure from John Duncan as well. As you go flying past our static camera at Clark, we wait to pick the rest of them up. Everybody just in line astern just now. Somebody was side by side going in towards Clark Corner there. Dom Wheatley, oh dear, Dom, don't go too wide there. Simon Holderness also, look at this, look at Ashley Morris round the outside of Holderness into the chicane. That's not going to work. Let's see what the outcome of that is. As the two leaders at the front, yeah, definitely they're pulling some time on John Duncan here. Dalgleish and Munro pulling time on John Duncan in third place, and John Duncan's got Michael Weddle and David Slay all over the back of Michael Weddle now. So things are certainly heating up here. And then there's a massive, massive mid-pack as they go over the crest of Duffy's Dip. Well, the leaders make their way in towards the hairpin. Again, Ian Munro looks at the inside. Munro thinking about it. Oh, and he hits the back of Robbie Dalgleish. He gives him a little tap. Well, it was more than a little tap, that actually, Ian. That was a little bit naughty. Dalgleish didn't really do too much wrong there. Maybe a little bit of movement in the braking zone. Just covering himself off, though. And Ian Munro gives him a wee tap in the rear, but it doesn't send Dalgleish wide at the corner. If anything, it's helped him get a good exit from the hairpin. And look how much time he's now put into Ian Munro in this lap. As they go over the crest of the chicane again, the camera follows them in. Everybody just flirting with the curbs there. David Slade still in that 5th place just now. As they come in towards McIntyre's. Behind David, we've got Hannah Chapman, who's definitely on a recovery drive from race number 1 this morning, Hannah. Great shame for them. We've got Dom Wheatley going through, then Gary Clark, 9th place, Ross Wilkinson, 10th. There's Simon Holderness just now, and then Ash Morris goes through as well. As we crest the hill, and on we go. With Fiona Kindness and Craig Dillon, the two Track Scotland cars, very close there. Now look at this at the hairpin again. Slade tries to go underneath Weddle. There might have been a tiny, tiny little nudge to say hello. I'm here. Weddle back on the, maybe the right side as they head towards Clark Corner, but he's going to have to be forceful with David Slay, that's for sure. David Slay will not give that place up as somebody runs very wide. The two cars run very wide at the hairpin. Was that Ian Walsh and possibly Neil Methvin? Not 100% sure of that. We're too far away from our view. But look at that down the back straight. Weddle on the inside as they go towards the chicane. Slay's going to have to give that up. As hard as a driver he is, David Slay will not go around the outside of Michael Weddle in a million years. And he looks at the inside into McIntyre's. Weddle covered that off. Slay goes sideways. That's lost him a bit of drive. And here comes Chappers. What can Hannah Chapman do to David Slay? Because that big sideways moment will be hurting him all the way up the hill here. And he might lose a lot of time as they come up and over the crest of the hill. As they go underneath the Beatson's Building Supply Bridge. As Robbie Dalgleish still leads away from Ian Munro, and Munro has really caught back up with Dalgleish, but Dalgleish covers that inside line in towards the hairpin, and John Duncan takes a very different route through the hairpin there. A little bit of gravel kicked over the apex of the corner, and then because of the battle with Slay and Weddle, that's really brought them back in towards Hannah Chapman, Dom Wheatley, Gary Clark territory. So it really has got everybody together for 4th place onwards. Behind John Duncan, we've got 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th in there now. Over the chicane they go. It's all about this man though. He's coped with brilliant, brilliant pressure. Munro really looking for a shot here. Munro so close to the back of Robbie Dalgleish. Now, has he cost himself? Has Ian Munro cost himself there side by side with John Duncan? John Duncan goes round the outside at Leslie's. What a fabulous, fabulous manoeuvre from John Duncan. Ian Munro a little bit too keen at McIntyre's. Cost himself a bit in the exit, and John Duncan right around the outside. Fabulous overtake from John Duncan there as Robbie Dalgleish crosses the line. And he looks absolutely delighted with that one, and so he should. He takes a checker flag. He goes from 6th to 1st in the reverse grid for the minis. Well done, Robbie Dalgleish. And John Duncan, on the very last couple of corners, steals 2nd place away from Ian Munro. Munro should be happy with that 3rd place, so ahead of 4th place Michael Weddle, 5th place for David Slay. Chappers comes back and rounds off her weekend with a good 6th place after a DNF in race number 1. Dom Wheatley was 7th, Gary Clark come home in 8th place, and Ross Wilkinson 9th, and Ash Morris did get 10th place at the end there. But let's remind everybody, new track record there for David Slay, a 62.869 second lap. David Slay will be happy, very happy with that one, we'd imagine. And he also takes a championship lead into the final meeting, the final 3 races. 13-point lead over John Duncan. That's not comfortable. It is very uncomfortable. He's in the championship lead, he's in the hot spot, but also 40 points off Robbie Dalgley. So it's all to play for in the last meeting of the year.